So good morning, everyone, dear colleagues and friends, and welcome to our ELSI Dialogues webinar. My name is Ilaria Colussi, and I am a data protection specialist for BBMRI ERIC, and I will be moderating this session. Today, we are going to be exploring artificial intelligence in Southeastern Asia, considering the example of the Indonesian National Artificial Intelligence Strategy on ethics and policy. Before we start, I would like to briefly give some background about BBMRI ERIC, which stands for the Biobanking and Biomolecular Resources Research Infrastructure, European Research Infrastructure Consortium, which has the scope to facilitate access to sample and data collections across Europe to advance biomedical research for the benefit of the European citizens. To reach this goal, BBMRI ERIC relies on a network of national nodes in the member countries, as well as a team of interdisciplinary experts from medicine, social science, ethics, law, IT, quality management, patient communities, and industry partners. BBMRI ERIC's ELSI services and research provides support on ethical, legal, and societal issues, operating in partnership with a network of experts from academia and practice from across both our national nodes and project partners, alongside three key cornerstones, which are research, service, and training. This webinar today is possible thanks to funding from the European Union's Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Project. Specifically, it is supported by the CANSERV project that focuses on providing cutting-edge cancer research services across Europe. Visit the website canserv.eu. Without further delay, I will now proceed with the webinar. But before diving into Southeastern Asia experience on artificial intelligence, I am going to provide a short view on the European Union's approach to AI, from the ethical viewpoint, because I think that it can offer interesting comparative elements for our discussion. On 8th April 2019, the high-level expert group on artificial intelligence, appointed by the European Commission and mandated with the drafting of two deliverables, namely AI ethics guidelines and policy and investment recommendations, presented a central document, which is the ethics guidelines for trustworthy artificial intelligence. The central notion of this document is that AI systems need to be human-centric, which means that they should serve humanity and the common good. Then it is needed to maximize the benefits of AI systems while at the same time preventing and minimizing their risks. And then there is a central concept that is the notion of trustworthy AI as foundational ambition. And indeed, the notion of trust and trustworthiness is really central for the European Union's approach to artificial intelligence. But what does trustworthy AI mean? It means that AI should be lawful. So it means that it should comply with all applicable laws and regulations, ethical, so it should adhere to ethical principles and values, and robust from both the technical and social perspective. And these three components should work in harmony. With regards to the ethical principles, we can say that the European Union approach is based on fundamental rights. So there are four ethical principles that should inform artificial intelligence, which are the respect for human autonomy and dignity. And so AI should be developed in a manner that respects humans' physical and mental integrity, the sense of identity, and essential needs. Then the second ethical principle is the prevention of harm, which means to ensure the mitigation of risks and the avoidance of any kind of unjustified surveillance or manipulation. The third principle is fairness, which means an equal distribution of both benefits and costs, and the avoidance of any kind of unfair bias, discrimination, and stigmatization. And then the fourth principle is the explicability principle, which means that the processes that inform AI should be transparent openly communicated, and the decisions, to the extent that is possible, should be explainable to those directly and indirectly affected. Then this European Union's approach details also 7 requirements for trustworthy AI. So there are 7 elements that should be present in a trustworthy AI, that are, first of all, the human agency and oversight. So AI should empower people, and there should be some approaches like human in the loop or human in command to oversight the mechanisms that inform the working of AI. Then there should be technical robustness and safety. Privacy and data governance should be respected. So it is needed to have data integrity and to respect privacy. Transparency, which is linked to traceability, explainability. Then there is diversity and fairness, so to avoid any kind of bias and discrimination. Then AI should be sustainable, environmentally friendly, and considerate of societal impacts. And accountability, which means to be able to explain the mechanisms of working. And then there should be also auditability and accessible redress. So these are the 7 requirements for having a trustworthy AI. And the high-level expert group also prepared an assessment list for trustworthy AI, which translated into practice these ethical guidelines. I dealt here with the ethical approach. I will not go into detail as regards the legal framework, but I think it's worth mentioning at least very quickly the AI Act, because this is the world's first law on artificial intelligence, and it is based on this notion of trustworthy AI. It has entered into force in August 2024 after 3 years of negotiations between the institutions at the European Union level. And the main thing to be remembered about this act is that it is based on the analysis of risk. And so it is based on a risk assessment approach, which divides AI applications into 4 categories. There are those that entail minimal or no risk, and they are not affected by this act. Those that entail a limited risk, like chatbots, for example. And for this kind of applications, there are transparency obligations for the AI developers and deployers, so to inform the users about the content generated by AI. Then there are high risks applications, such as the ones used in healthcare field, for example, diagnosis, or biometric identification. And here there are strict requirements and obligations like transparency, human supervision, testing, and so on. And then there are those that are prohibited and banned from use in the EU, which entail unacceptable risks. And so these are, for example, the ones that include cognitive behavioral manipulation or social scoring or facial recognition by law enforcement authority in public spaces, with some limited exceptions. So these were just a few words on the European Union approach, which can help understanding now the Southeastern Asian approach, which is a bit different, but now we have an excellent speaker that will introduce us to this topic, and we have the honor and pleasure to host here Mrs. Thilma Komaling, who is a government policy and sustainable program consultant, and she's among the authors of the Indonesian Artificial Intelligence Strategy. She has a master's degree in public policy and is currently strategic lead and advisor at Indonesia Tuna Consortium. She has a policy expertise with more than 20 years of experience in development sector and private sector, and a strong professional history in program management. So she will now introduce us to how artificial intelligence is shaping the health and healthcare field in Southeastern Asia. And she will also explain us the Indonesian ethics approach to AI, which maybe can have some points in common with the European approach or some difference. We will see. So Thilma, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And I give you the floor. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Ilaria, and also some background on the AI ethics and policy in EU. Yes, as mentioned, my name is Thilma Komaling. It is a privilege and an honor for me to be speaking today on the work that we have been doing. But before, I just want to, because I'm connecting now from Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia, just to give an overview of what is Indonesia. So a bit about Indonesia. I don't want to give you facts and figures because I think it's going to be quite boring, but just to give you an overview on how large our country is. Basically, we are in the same size of Atlantic Ocean. So if you travel from the west point of Indonesia through the east side, it will take 7 to 9 hours. And we are, as you've seen here, we are an archipelagic states. So Indonesia has 7,508 islands, and you will also see the diversity there, the diversity of biodiversity there. We have flowers, palms, mammals, reptiles, fish, birds, and amphibians. And we are in politically, we have 38 provinces right now, and we have 1,340 tribes, and we spoke 718 languages. So that's how diverse our country is. And I'm sure there's a lot also to be shared, but I think just to give you an overview on how we can then understand or how Indonesia then choose the national principle as the basic of the AI ethics. So just an outlook to AI outlook in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is formed into a formal entity called ASEAN. It's the Association of Southeast Asian Nation. But in AI, currently we see Singapore is the leading one. It started in 2019 for their national AI strategy, and then following to Indonesia in 2020, and also Malaysia for a roadmap. Although they have different names, but basically like the whole kind of concept are mostly are the same. And the Philippines also coming following into 2021, Vietnam, and the latest one is Thailand. And across the, I think, 3 years of development, there's a lot of growing and also discussion around Southeast Asia. That's why then the Asian issued the Asian Guide on AI Governance and Ethics. You can also see here, there's a lot of principles that has been adopted, to promote trust and ethical amongst the development of AI system. So this guidelines is not bounded. So this is the guidelines. So then most of the developer or the government that is working in AI, governing AI, knows exactly like what's in regional, what we believe on. And just to give an example, recently I just came from Thailand to present about the AI ethics about to 5 different countries. And one thing that I think quite interesting to share is in Malaysia. Malaysia also developed their AI ethics and guidelines on the basic of their rukun warga, rukun negara, meaning the nation belief system. And if you see here, there are a couple of points and principles, almost the same with Indonesian. I will share later. But there's a movement going on in Malaysia, which is called AI untuk rakyat, which is AI for the citizens. That means that this is a platform for the citizens to have an innovation on how AI can provide as a tool to provide benefits to the work-life balance and also healthcare system and all of the things that can be beneficial to the social impact of Malaysia. So in Asian Guide on AI Governance and Ethics, there are 5 different points, which is transparency and explainability. I think I see it also in EU, fairness and equity, and security and safety, human centricity, and privacy and data governance. So more or less is a couple of points that are similar. Coming into Indonesia, so this is the, I should say, like the visualization of Indonesia strategy. Currently, we are on the 17th year, 79, I suppose, of independence. So we are aiming to go towards to 100 years of Indonesian and independence. So on that note, then our group that time we develop we tried to come up with a system on how then we see AI can benefit us as a country, as a nation. So we put health services first, and then bureaucratic reform, education and research, food security and mobility, and smart cities. It's not in layered, so it's in the same layer, but we think we came to a agreement that health services is number 1. I'm going to give you a couple of also examples or practical or a couple of innovations and initiatives in Indonesia later on in the presentation, so that you see on how then it come to practice for the citizens of Indonesia. What's interesting about the process was that time our group was starting right before the pandemic. And that time we already put on the data privacy law, but it has been years by years, it has been kind of stuck in the parliament. So we started this movement of coming together as quadruple helix, which is we have a representative from the private sector, we have representative from the government, academia, and also from the society. We come together and then we started this Indonesia strategy, not as, I should say, this is which is not a task from the government. So this is purely from an initiative from the citizens. And if you see there on the date, it was launched in August 2020, but the data privacy law is just enacted in September 2022. So that's kind of like a chicken and egg process that time. But we're glad that it's over now. We see there's a lot of gaps and also potentials of policy being made, but I think it's going to be more on the application level. But if you see on the priorities, then there are also focus areas, which is the industrial research and innovations. So this is the main idea or the vision is to develop a research ecosystem and artificial intelligence innovation platform in order to accelerate bureaucratic and industrial reform. That time, 4 years ago, when we start coming together and think about on how we can build this, our only challenges is how then the guide, the policy is not going to slow down innovation, because we know AI comes also, the high drive is from the companies, the private sectors. That's why then we put industrial research and innovation. So we also do have 2 pillars on top of it, or under it. So which is the infrastructure and data, and also the talent development. All of these are all the elements that need to go in parallel. And on baseline of it is the ethics and policy. So also just show you, this is the team that we worked with, and also just to give you an overview, this is the kind of detailing on how then AI in Indonesia can help to harness the sustainable economic growth, enhance public services, and improve quality of life. And these all are in alignment of national development goals on the 2045 vision to become a global digital hub in Southeast Asia. So it's quite interesting when I was asked to speak on the Southeast Asia. It's very related and really linked to one another. The key priorities in Indonesia strategies are for economic growth, public services and governance, talent development and research, and ethical AI and regulation. One interesting thing that I can share here without putting in the presentation is about that time when we start doing the Indonesian AI strategy. The president of Indonesia has already put up a speech, a couple of speech that mentioned AI to change the lower rank of government officials. So there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of debates going on in the media and also on what is AI and how do we come across AI? How do we approach? Do we trust them? Is it going to change the jobs of people? That's kind of the challenge that we try to kind of put up a justification or like a more like a solution that this is a tool for digital society. So coming to the central of the talk. So as I mentioned, the ethics of Indonesia AI is on Pancasila. So Pancasila came from two words, which is Panca means five, and Sila is points. So this is the 5 points that Indonesia was born with. So we have these 5 principles that we thought from very, very early age, which is the belief in one God, just and civilized humanity, the unity of Indonesia, and then number 4 is quite long, but it's on the democracy and also the representatives of the people. And number 5 is on social justice. So our team that time tried to make sure that the points or the core is not something new. We need something really close to the heart of the people of Indonesia, because this is something that needs to be originally from Indonesia, what we believe and what we want to carry forward as a nation. So then it comes the 9 AI ethics core, which is inclusivity, humanity, security, accessibility, and non-discriminative, transparency, and also on the fifth point, we put social justice on 5 different points, which is transparency, credibility, and accountability, data privacy, and sustainable impact in environment and intellectual property in 1 point of social justice. So this whole idea we found quite effective for the people of Indonesia to understand about AI, not worrying about AI, but trying to master AI for them to make sure that their life is kind of improving, and also they can also maximize and optimizing the use of AI for their economic growth. So, and on top of that, it has been an ongoing kind of process. Then we want to make sure the Indonesian AI strategy has the political or the policy instrument in place. One of it that we have been already being launched is the circular letter from the Ministry of Communication and Informatics in 2023 on this 4 points on the central notion of AI ethics, which is 1, AI cannot be a determinant of policies or make decisions related to humans. And 2nd, AI adopting the value of equality, justice, and peace for greater good. Number 3 is need to consider carefully on the social and environmental impact, aiming for sustainability and social welfare. And number 4 is on the intellectual property, data privacy, credibility, and accountability is in accordance to the law and order. So this is then how then we can put in place the regulation for trying to safeguard the digital society, and also making sure that the innovators have room to grow. And as a promise, this is a couple of initiatives in Indonesia related to the healthcare. We have Halodoc, which is a an application, a mobile application that use AI, and it is a Indonesian digital app that connects patients with doctors, pharmacies, and lab services. And this app help patients arrange appointments, medicine deliveries, and tests. So at the beginning of the talk, I mentioned that Indonesia is really, it's huge, it's very large. So it's quite impossible for the government alone to kind of reach until the remote islands and also to provide healthcare. So that's why then this is has been a very easy and also efficient way on how to make sure that the people have access to advices to doctors, and also to lab services and pharmacies. And they also use AI, which is the human-centered AI. This is for the patient, and also the NLP in Bahasa Indonesia to measure, rank, and provide insight, as well as how the services they give to the user, and also for the mentoring and feedback. What's interesting about this app is that it connects the doctors in the city, mainly in the city, and also the patient, which is living in the mountains and also on remote islands, and that's how that it kind of connects. So there are three initiatives here. Halodoc is a private owned, so this is a company that started, and it has been widely used until now. And the second one is Peduli Lindungi. If you see on the chronological timing when the Indonesia AI strategies first started, and also the data privacy, it comes right before the pandemic. So within the pandemic, this app is the only way how we can travel. So if you want to travel from one city to another, you have to fill in the Peduli Lindungi. The way that it do is to make sure that there's a traceability of the travelers, and making sure that also there's the density is also being kind of measured. So this has been widely used, and it has been proven to be quite effective for the government, not only for the central government, but also on the provincial level, for them to understand like how bad is the condition, and what is like, do they need to have a like an open closure, because that time during the pandemic, the open closure is the most effective way, and the data that has been used to analyze is coming from the Peduli Lindungi, and it's a very simple one. It's basically on your mobile phone, and you can just text there where you're going, where you come from, and also your condition, and you also there's also like a permission card also in the app that you can travel based on your tests. So currently, Peduli Lindungi is not used anymore, but then it has transformed into another app called Satu Sehat. So Satu Sehat is the current one that is driven by the needs of the Ministry of Health to provide healthcare services to the people that is quite difficult to reach. So on this, based on the program of the government, it then integrated the 60% of health facilities in Indonesia has been integrated to Satu Sehat system. So the public can know where the nearest healthcare center, and also they can access their medical records through the system. And this application also can be accessed with your ID number. So it kind of store your records, and then now in the development, the use of AI will be optimized for the non-clinical health services. So this is to reach more people, like mental health services, like psychological, and this is also they also put like a future health index. That means the government also will have a way on making sure that they see their performances. So in reaching the people. So this is like the overall application on healthcare. I should say, if the question that it has changed how people behave in accessing healthcare, yes, that's tremendously, because right now, usually when you're sick, you need to go to to the nearest healthcare center, and then you need to wait for the doctor appointment, and sometimes it takes a couple of days, 1 or 2 days, and but with Halodoc and also with Satu Sehat, you can just see whatever on reach and whomever available, whomever online, the doctors, and then you can ask. And you can also take a picture of your condition, especially for skin condition, and then like there's a team of doctors that can evaluate and see just approximately, not like a full diagnosis, but approximately what's happening to you, what's the disease, and also a couple of recommendation of medicines to get. So yeah, that's about it that I can share. But in conclusion, with such a diversity in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, I see need to first optimize the use of AI in natural resource management. If you see, Indonesia uh, has been through a lot of biodiversity loss, and also it also relates to the livelihood of the people. So I really think this is a gap that not no one's, like few innovators in the country, also in the region, kind of see and try to um, uh, to make use of it. And the second one, because there's a lot of diversity, the dialects and languages, we spoke 1,000 languages basically across the country. So I think AI can also preserve the cultures, language, and values, making sure that the future generation can know what it's like to be Indonesian, not relying on your parents and grandparents to know about the values of the nation, but also this is something that we can, which I think also in the dialogue when we have with the other countries like such as Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam and Malaysia, they are also have the same necessity of trying to preserve this culture through AI. And number three is the most challenging one, is the digital protection for the people. I think the education level, also understanding the awareness about data security is not widely understood. So that's why then I think it's quite um, it's quite a it's quite a large problem to give away to the government to tackle. So it's also on the digital society, like what I am working, also working in Indonesian AI society. This is one thing that we are trying to promote and also trying to put the awareness on also to the people. Yeah, that's about it. Terima kasih. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Arya.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you so much, Thilma, for this food for thought that you have provided and the excellent points you have raised. I think that it was very, very interesting for us to see how some principles are shared with the European Union approach, because you mentioned human as a supervisor, so human in the loop, or human oversight, or the notions of technical robustness, security, transparency, diversity, non-discrimination, accountability. So all these principles are really in common, and this is great, because it means that we have a common understanding and shared values. But what I find very interesting for the Indonesian approach is how you tried to integrate the Pancasila, the ethical values of your ethical and legal system with this new technology. So how you try to integrate some traditional values also with modernity, let's say. And also I find it very interesting how you shape this approach also for reaching the people, and for making artificial intelligence available, or for trying to avoid fears and to reach really in a communication manner the people and the different stakeholders. I find that it was very, very useful and interesting for us also to understand how also AI is changing healthcare in Southeastern Asia, no? And trying to approach the people and trying to reduce the distances that you mentioned, because Indonesia is so big. So of course, it is needed to try to reach diverse people, and to reduce also the distances there. So really AI could offer many opportunities in this sense, and it is also important to shape it in a manner that creates trust in the end, and public trust, which is also something that you shared. And I also appreciated how you took into account in your strategy the role of different stakeholders. So you mentioned industries, you mentioned the talents, which is quite new, because we always tend to forget this kind of aspect. But of course, the talent development is also something that AI could promote and should be taken into account, and taking into account also the citizens, most of all, and as stakeholders. So I think that it's an interesting approach, really. So thank you so much for having been here, of course, and we will leave the space in a minute to the questions and answers. But before that, I would like to thank all the participants to this webinar, and I would like also to remind you that we regularly share papers and updates from our ELSI experts via BBMRI ERIC newsletter. So you can sign up to this newsletter on our website, where you will also find some resources and services like the ELSI knowledge base or the ELSI help desk. Our website is bbmrieric.eu. If you enjoyed this recording, do share it with interested friends and colleagues, or you can leave also a review or comment on whichever platform you tuned in via. And we will wait for you for the next episode of this ELSI Dialogues, and you can also follow us on our social platforms. So thank you for attending, and see you next time.